Chair lays out House Bill 4777 and recognizes Author Representative Plesa to explain her bill.
Thank you, Dean, Chairwoman Thompson, Vice Chair Hall, and the distinguished members of this committee. I'm honored to lay out House Bill 4777 before you today. School resource officers, or SROs, play a key function in supporting school safety and creating safe learning communities for all students. SROs must serve an increasingly diverse population of students with unique needs, including trauma and mental health needs, which affects their behavior and learning outcomes. SROs are becoming more commonplace throughout our state and are often school-age children's first introduction to law enforcement. They shape kids' lifelong attitudes and sentiments towards our police. HB 4777 empowers SROs with more education and a greater opportunity to be a healthy adult relationship in a child's life and a positive role model of good citizenship and public service, someone a child can trust and turn to for help. House Bill 4777 would include these effects of mental health condition, including grief and trauma on student behavior and evidence-based strategies to support a safe school environment as topics included in the initial school resource officer certification training. The bill is written to allow TCOL flexibility and discretion over the incorporation of these topics into the training and would not require an increase in the amount of hours required. TMPA and the Texas School Districts Police Chief Association are in support of this bill, and you will hear testimony from one of the chiefs representing the association momentarily. Members, children do not need a diagnosis or clinical disorder to experience trauma and mental health conditions. Children experience trauma and grief around many factors from their home life as well as at school. They may be dealing with illness of a parent, divorce, loss of a loved one, poverty, or feeling anxiousness around tests and projects, just to name a few. Members, I'm happy to answer any questions and respectfully reserve my right to close.
Members, any questions? Thank you. The chair calls up Shannon Hoffman, Shannon Doyle, Bill Avera. Shannon Hoffman. We show you representing the Hogg Foundation for Mental Health, and you're neutral on the bill.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, members. My name is Shannon Hoffman, and I am with the Hogg Foundation for Mental Health. Foundation has been working to improve the mental health and well-being of Texans for over 80 years through grant-making, research, and policy education. And we are providing information on House Bill 4777. We know that stress and trauma can affect various aspects of a student's experience in school, including academic performance, behavior, and mental health. Youth behavior stemming from unidentified mental health concerns or trauma can be often misunderstood as bad behavior. This issue is crucial for students with disabilities who often experience disproportionate rates of removals from their classrooms. Further research shows that children identified as having an emotional disturbance had higher rates of discipline than any other category of disability. The effects of punitive discipline can have adverse effects on school climate, often negatively affecting students' sense of safety, well-being, and their ability to learn. Prior to working in policy, I worked as a licensed clinician working with youth in a residential setting with kiddos that had mental health and substance use concerns. They attended a school-like setting during the week, and in one instance that I like to share, a young man had a seemingly out of nowhere outburst in class. It turns out that a word problem described a child getting reprimanded for not cleaning his room, and we found out he experienced some pretty intense physical abuse by his father for the same behavior. His reaction was an emotional response to that previous trauma. A reaction could have easily been suspension, expulsion, or unfortunately criminal justice involvement. However, because of the staff's training and education, we were able to recognize this, and he was able to de-escalate process his reaction and return to the classroom. While school resource officers are not expected to be mental health professionals, additional training and support are part of a strategy to ensure appropriate responses to youth having mental health concerns or experiencing trauma. This training is aligned with the National Association of School Resource Officers, who recommend that school resource officers should be knowledgeable about child development, including development of students with disabilities, positive discipline, and trauma-informed practices. Our hope is with increased training and support, unidentified mental health concerns, substance use, or trauma can be better recognized, and students can be connected with the appropriate resources and supports. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? Thank you. Shannon Doyle, we show you National Association of Social Workers, Texas chapter, and you're for the bill.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members. My name is Shannon Doyle, and I'm a graduate policy intern with the National Association of Social Workers, Texas, which represents over 5,000 social workers across the state. I'm here to testify in support of House Bill 4777 to amend the current training curriculum for school district peace officers and resource officers to include enhanced training on student mental health. We have greatly appreciated this committee's effort in studying youth mental health and safety during the interim, and the legislature's increased investments this session to support the mental health needs of students and teachers across the state. As you're aware, Texas students are facing considerable obstacles to learning, including significant mental health needs, school and community violence, and other personal crises. The interim report by this committee laid out several recommendations to address these issues, as well as improve coordination between agencies and law enforcement, which included, quote, enhanced training for peace officers. If school police officers are trained not just in crisis response, but also in understanding the mental health impacts of grief and trauma, they will be better able to identify triggering student behaviors and respond accordingly by using evidence-based interventions. As most of us in this room know, there is a significant shortage of social workers and mental health providers in Texas. Currently, the ratio of school social workers to students in Texas is 1 to 5,309, which falls incredibly short of the recommended ratio of 1 to 250. While we believe Texas should work on closing this gap, or at the very least have one social worker for every school resource officer in Texas, we understand that schools have limited resources to meet these standards. Therefore, it is essential that peace officers and/or resource officers who are on site are trained to recognize and respond accordingly to students experiencing mental health issues. Overall, we believe House Bill 4777 is one step towards making our schools more trauma-informed through evidence-based strategies. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? Thank you. Bill Avera, we show you the Texas School District Police Chiefs Association, and you're representing yourself as well, and you're for the bill.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Vice Chair Hull, members of the committee. My name is Bill Avera. I do currently serve as the Chief of Police and Emergency Manager for Jacksonville Independent School District, and I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. I have over 40 years of law enforcement experience, including 20 in school-based policing in the last 20 years. Many things have happened during that time. In 2014-15, I was honored to serve on the TCO committee that formed the original House Bill 2684 that led to the 20-hour course that we are currently teaching our school-based law enforcement officers, whether they be contract from SROs or whether they be ISD police officers in this state. That bill required several things of our officers involved in how to understand the psychological and physiological development of the children, the mental health aspects of brain development and how that impacted their behavior, and that has been in force now since 2015. In 2019, we reviewed that bill and removed, this legislature did, the 30,000 student floor, and now that training is offered to all school-based law enforcement across this state. We believe that this bill is the next logical step. We know that many of our kids are facing trauma at home. In my own district, I have 2 youngsters that we work with quite frequently that watch their father murder their mother. And that's about as trauma-induced misbehavior as there is. And it's amazing how to see those children have basically shut down at some point after witnessing that trauma. And it's going to be a lifelong effort. So I really applaud Representative Plesa's efforts to add trauma-informed care. We need to involve all of our officers and all of our school employees on how to recognize signs, which we do in our district. This 20-hour course must be taken within the first 120 days of an officer's employment in the school, and we already have mental health trainings, de-escalation, crisis intervention, and so this would be the next logical step. We have over 300 officer departments in this state, 300 school-based law enforcement departments out of our 1,200, and we look forward to working with Representative Plesa and this committee to ensure that this trauma-based care is added to the curriculum for our school-based officers, and would be happy to answer any questions, and thank you once again.
Members, any questions? Thank you. Chair calls up Anna O'Quinn. Did I get your name right?
You did, which I'm impressed. That's rare, so thank you.
Perfect. So
Hi.
we show you Anna O'Quinn representing Girls Empowerment Network for the bill.
Exactly, yes. Hi, Chair Hull and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Again, I'm Anna O'Quinn. I'm the Mental Health Policy Fellow at Girls Empowerment Network, and we are testifying in support of this bill, HB 4777. At our organization, we ignite the power in girls by teaching them the skills to thrive and believe in their ability to be unstoppable. More specifically, we serve more than 2,000 Texas girls in grades 3rd through 12th, including programs in Austin ISD, Houston ISD, and Hayes ISD. Our organization has been thinking a lot about a troubling report from the CDC that was just released last month. It told us that teen girls are experiencing record high levels of violence, sadness, and suicide risk. In Texas alone, 44% of high school girls report signs or symptoms of depression. We know that trauma and grief is a major component of this mental health care crisis. Our Texas students have and unfortunately will continue to experience high levels of trauma in their lives. In the U.S. right now, more than 2/3 of children report at least one traumatic event by age 16. The detrimental effects of this trauma are well studied, and some of them have already been noted. We have short-term effects such as lower grades and absences in schools, and long-term effects such as heart disease and increased involvement with the juvenile justice system, or as you may have heard it been called, the school-to-prison pipeline. Giving school district peace officers and resource officers evidence-based trainings on these realities of grief and trauma and how it impacts students is a wonderful way to prevent these detrimental outcomes. The potential of the way these trainings can support our peace officers and our schools is endless. For example, peace officers could help identify students who are in need of additional mental health care support and refer them out to appropriate resources, or could safely de-escalate students who are exhibiting behaviors based on trauma responses. School peace officers deserve to be given the tools to understand the very real presence of grief and trauma in our schools. At our organization, we know that grief and trauma-informed care creates safer schools in Texas, and as we all agree right now, Texas students deserve to feel safe. Thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on, for, or against House Bill 4777? If not, testimony on House Bill 4777 is now closed, and the chair recognizes Representative Plesa to close on her bill.
Thank you, Chairwoman and members, for carefully considering this bill supported by our schools and our law enforcement officials. I would like to thank all the witnesses that came here to testify, Chairman Lozano and Chairman Dutton for joint authoring this bipartisan piece of legislation. And I respectfully request your favorable consideration and humbly request this bill to be sent to local and consent calendars. And with that, I close.
Members, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Members, the chair moves to leave House Bill 4777 pending. Are there any objections? Chair hears none. The bill will be left pending.